You've felt it before, that spark that rushes through your body the moment your eyes meet someone else's. Your pulse races, your thoughts blur, and suddenly it feels like the universe has conspired to place this person right in front of you. In that moment, nothing else matters. You're caught in the intensity, the hunger, the thrill of wanting someone so badly that it feels almost impossible to resist. And yet, deep inside, a part of you wonders, is this really love, or is it just lust disguised as something greater? The truth is, in those early moments, it's almost impossible to tell the difference. Lust wears the mask of love so convincingly that you believe the fireworks are proof of destiny. It pulls you in with a force that feels unshakable. You tell yourself, this has to be it. This is the person I've been waiting for. But if you've ever woken up months later, feeling the spark gone, the silence heavy, and the connection fragile, then you've already discovered the truth the hard way. Not every fire keeps you warm, some just burn you out. And that's where you find yourself now, searching for clarity, trying to understand how you can tell the difference before you give your heart away. You don't want to keep investing in illusions that disappear when the passion fades. You want to know what's real, what's lasting, what will actually bring peace and fulfillment into your life. Because deep down, you're tired of chasing highs that leave you empty. You want love that stays. Think about the times you've mistaken intensity for intimacy. The late-night texts that made you feel wanted but never safe. The moments where every touch felt electric, but there was no deeper connection beyond the surface. The passion was undeniable, but once the flames settled, you realized there was nothing solid to hold on to. That's the trick of lust. It makes you feel like you've found everything, when in reality, you've only found the beginning of something shallow. But love, real lasting love, is different. It's not as loud at first, and that's why so many people overlook it. It doesn't always start with fireworks. Sometimes it feels like a quiet warmth instead of a burning flame. It's steady, patient, and it doesn't demand your attention by overwhelming your senses. Instead, it builds, little by little, until one day you realize this is the person who sees you, not just your body, not just your surface, but you. And when that realization sinks in, you understand that love isn't about being consumed, it's about being cared for. Right now, you're probably remembering the people in your past, trying to piece together what those experiences were. Was that connection real, or was it just physical? Did they ever love you, or were they just caught up in wanting you? And maybe, the harder question, were you really in love with them? Or were you only addicted to how they made you feel in the moment? That honesty is difficult, because it forces you to look at your own heart, to admit that sometimes you've mistaken desire for devotion. But don't blame yourself for it. Lust feels good, it's intoxicating. It gives you the illusion of certainty, even when there's nothing beneath it. Your brain floods with chemicals, your body convinces you it's love, and your heart follows because it doesn't want to lose that intensity. We're wired to chase pleasure, to chase excitement, to hold on to the things that make us feel alive. But here's the thing, lust can't keep you alive. It can only keep you distracted. Love, however, is what sustains you. When you think of lasting love, you start to realize it has a very different texture than lust. Lust is impatient. It wants everything right now. It wants your attention, your time, your body, your energy, all at once without thinking of tomorrow. Love, on the other hand, takes its time. It doesn't demand, it offers. It doesn't rush, it waits. It's not about consuming, it's about nurturing. And when you experience it, you understand why it lasts. Because love isn't about intensity, it's about consistency. But how do you know the difference in real time, when you're in the middle of it, when you're drawn in by the passion and your emotions blur the line? That's the question that matters, because if you can learn to recognize it, you can stop wasting years on temporary connections and start building relationships that actually lead to happiness. And that begins with awareness, paying attention not just to what you feel, but to what the other person shows you. Ask yourself, when you're with them, do you feel safe? Do they notice the small things about you? The way you laugh, the way you get quiet when something's on your mind, the way your mood shifts when you're overwhelmed. Lust doesn't care about those details. Lust only notices what makes it feel good. But love sees your humanity. It notices your flaws and doesn't run from them. It sees your vulnerabilities and doesn't take advantage of them. It sees your dreams and doesn't mock them. That's how you know. And when you think about what you actually want for your future, it becomes clear. You don't just want someone who makes your heart race for a few months. You want someone who makes you feel safe to be yourself, who shows up for you in the quiet moments, who doesn't just want your body, but also your soul. You want someone who doesn't vanish when things get hard, who doesn't only stay when it's convenient, but who chooses you, even when it's difficult. That's love. And here's the part you might not want to hear, but need to. Sometimes you're the one who confuses the two. Sometimes you mistake your own desire for commitment, convincing yourself you're in love when you're really just chasing what feels exciting. It's not just about protecting yourself from others, it's about being honest with yourself. Do you truly want this person, or do you just want the way they make you feel right now? Because if it's only the latter, then it's lust. But don't misunderstand, lust isn't the enemy, it has its place. It can even be the spark that begins something beautiful. The problem comes when you build an entire relationship on lust alone, expecting it to give you the depth of love. That's like building a house on sand. You can decorate it, enjoy it for a while, but the foundation won't hold. Love requires more than just desire. It requires patience, understanding, forgiveness, and a willingness to grow together. Without those things, no matter how strong the attraction is, it won't last. And maybe that's where you've gone wrong in the past. Maybe you mistook their intensity for love. Maybe you overlooked the red flags because the chemistry felt undeniable. Maybe you thought the way they touched you meant they truly cared. But now, looking back, you can see how quickly it faded, how shallow it truly was. And in that realization, you find your answer. You don't want to repeat that cycle again. You want something different. So here's the shift that changes everything. Instead of chasing the high, start seeking the depth. Instead of asking, how much do they want me right now? Ask, how much are they willing to invest in me long term? Instead of focusing on how they make you feel in moments of passion, focus on how they make you feel in moments of silence. Because that's where the truth shows up. Not in the excitement, but in the everyday. And once you see that difference, you stop falling for the same illusion. You begin to slow down, to watch more closely, to notice the way they treat you when they don't need anything from you. That's where you find out if it's love. Lust fades when the chase is over. Love deepens when the chase ends. Because love isn't about the chase, it's about the choice. And that's what you deserve. Not just someone who wants you, but someone who chooses you. Not just someone who feels passion, but someone who feels commitment. Not just someone who sees your body, but someone who sees your soul. That is the difference between lust and lasting love. And that difference is what will protect your heart from being wasted again. You've started to realize something important. Lust might ignite quickly, but it doesn't know how to stay. It's a guest that walks in unannounced, rearranges your emotions, and leaves before you can even process what happened. Love, on the other hand, doesn't rush through your life like a storm. It arrives quietly, often unnoticed at first, and proves itself over time. And the more you reflect on this, the clearer the gap becomes between what excites you and what fulfills you. Think about the moments when you've been swept up in lust, the anticipation of their call, the thrill of the first kiss, the way every touch felt like fire on your skin. It consumed you so completely that you couldn't imagine wanting anyone else. But then, as days turned into weeks, something shifted. The spark began to fade. The conversations grew shallow. The excitement that once lit you up began to dim, leaving you with the uncomfortable question, was there ever more to this than attraction? That's the thing about lust. It promises everything but delivers little. It convinces you that this rush is proof of love, when in truth, it's proof of chemistry. And chemistry alone, while powerful, is never enough. You need connection. You need depth. You need a reason to stay beyond the fire. Because when you're looking for lasting love, you're not just looking for someone who excites you. You're looking for someone who grounds you. Imagine love not as a spark, but as a steady flame. It doesn't blind you with its intensity. It warms you with its presence. It's not about how much you crave the person in fleeting moments. It's about how much you trust them when life gets heavy. Love asks, can I lean on you when I'm weak? Can I share my fears without being judged? Can I be vulnerable without being abandoned? These are the questions lust never answers, because lust was never built to. And yet, here's the challenge. You live in a world that glorifies lust. Everywhere you look, the message is about attraction, desire, intensity, passion. Movies, songs, even social media push the idea that love must always feel electric. That if the butterflies aren't there, then maybe you're with the wrong person. But butterflies don't last. They were never meant to. What lasts is peace. What lasts is commitment. What lasts is choosing each other, even when the feelings fluctuate. Because here's another truth you've probably noticed. Feelings are fragile. They rise and fall. They can be influenced by stress, exhaustion, distance, even your own insecurity. If your relationship is only built on feelings, then it's only as stable as the emotions of that moment. But love, real love, isn't just a feeling, it's a choice. It's the decision to keep showing up, to keep giving, to keep building, even when the initial intensity fades. Lust cannot make that choice. Love can. So how do you train yourself to see this difference before you get caught in the cycle again? You start by looking beyond the surface. Pay attention not to what they say in moments of passion, but what they do when the passion isn't there. Do they still check on you when you're not giving them attention? Do they care about your well-being outside of what you provide them? Do they make space for your needs, or are they only concerned with their own? These little things are where the truth hides. When you're caught in lust, you'll notice the connection feels urgent. Everything has to happen now. There's a sense of impatience, of needing more, faster, without giving time for trust to grow. But when you're in love, there's patience. There's no rush, no pressure, no force. You can take your time, because love isn't afraid of waiting. It doesn't fear losing you if things aren't moving at lightning speed. It understands that what is real doesn't need to be forced. It just needs to be nurtured. Think of the times when someone truly cared for you. Not when they complimented your appearance, not when they reached for your hand in moments of desire, but when they listened to your worries, when they remembered the small details you shared weeks ago, when they supported you without expecting anything in return. That's love showing itself in small, consistent acts. That's the difference that creates security instead of uncertainty. And let's be honest with yourself, you've probably mistaken chemistry for compatibility before. You've felt the attraction and told yourself it must mean you're right for each other. But compatibility runs deeper than attraction. It's about values, about vision, about the life you want to build. You can be wildly attracted to someone and yet completely incompatible for a future. That's why lust feels strong, but often collapses under the weight of reality. Love, however, can carry reality because it's built on more than physical pull. What makes this hard is that lust feels louder. It's urgent, it's thrilling, it makes your heart race in ways that feel undeniable. Love, by contrast, can seem quieter at first. It doesn't shout for your attention, it invites you into it. And because of that, many people overlook it, chasing the louder voice instead. But the quieter one is the one that will remain when life tests you. The quieter one is the one that won't leave when things get messy. That's the voice worth listening to. Picture yourself years from now. Do you want to look back and remember only the highs that faded into emptiness? Or do you want to look back and see a relationship where you were chosen again and again, where your soul was nourished, where your peace was protected? The answer is obvious, but living it requires courage. It requires you to stop chasing temporary fires and start waiting for the flame that stays. And this is where you begin to shift. Not just in how you view others, but in how you view yourself. Because part of the reason you've fallen for lust before is that it validates something inside of you. It makes you feel wanted, desired, chosen in the moment. But love requires you to believe you're worthy of more than temporary attention. It requires you to see your value so clearly that you won't settle for someone who only wants a piece of you. You'll wait for the one who wants all of you. Your heart, your mind, your flaws, your future. So you start setting different standards. You stop asking, does this person want me right now? And start asking, does this person want to build with me long term? You stop being impressed by intensity and start being impressed by consistency. You stop giving your heart to anyone who reaches for it and start waiting to see who handles it with care. That's how you protect yourself. That's how you prepare yourself for love that lasts. And when you do that, something powerful happens. You stop fearing the end of love. Because when it fades, as it always does, you'll recognize it for what it was and let it go, instead of clinging to it and calling it love. You'll know that losing lust is not losing love, because the two are not the same. You'll have the wisdom to wait for more, to recognize when someone is offering you something deeper, something real. And that wisdom will save you from heartbreak that you no longer need to endure. It all comes down to this. Lust excites you. Love transforms you. Lust gives you moments. Love gives you meaning. Lust is about what you feel in the beginning. Love is about what you build in the end. And the moment you internalize that truth, you stop wasting your energy on temporary connections and start creating space for the kind of relationship your soul has been craving all along. You've begun to understand that the difference between lust and lasting love isn't about denying attraction, but about not letting attraction blind you to the truth. Because attraction is powerful, yes, but it isn't the foundation you can build a life on. What really sustains a relationship isn't how passionately someone holds you in the beginning, but how steadily they hold you when life gets complicated. And that's the test many people fail, because lust isn't strong enough to carry the weight of reality. Think about the challenges you've faced in your life. Stress, setbacks, disappointment, moments where you weren't at your best. Lust doesn't survive those seasons. Lust feeds on perfection, on excitement, on novelty. It thrives when everything feels new, but it withers when things get real. Love, however, doesn't just survive those seasons, it deepens in them. Love says, I see your mess, and I'm not going anywhere. Lust disappears when you're hard to love. Real love draws closer, because it's not about the ease, it's about the bond. And you've probably seen this play out before. Maybe you've had someone in your life who adored you when everything was fun and light, but as soon as you struggled, they pulled away. Their texts slowed down, their patience vanished. They started acting distant. At first you blamed yourself, thinking maybe you weren't attractive enough, maybe you weren't exciting anymore. But the truth is, they were never in love with you. They were in love with how you made them feel. That wasn't your fault. That was the limitation of love. Love doesn't just adore you when you're shining, it protects you when you're breaking. It doesn't just celebrate your victories, it holds your hand through your losses. That's the difference you've been needing to see. Because once you do, you can stop confusing temporary interest with lifelong commitment. And that shift will save you from giving your heart to people who were never capable of carrying it. But here's where it gets deeper. Sometimes the real reason lust falls you isn't just because of the other person, it's because of your own longing. You crave connection so much that you'll take whatever looks like it. You want love so badly that you convince yourself desire is the same thing. It's not. Desire wants what it can get. Love wants what it can give. And until you accept that difference, you'll keep falling into the same cycle, mistaking intensity for intimacy and wondering why it always ends in emptiness. You have to become the kind of person who is no longer fooled by appearances, who doesn't just ask, do they want me, but also asks, do they honor me? Who doesn't just notice how much they desire your presence, but how much they respect your absence. Because respect is what separates lust from love. Lust takes as much as it can, while it can. Love honors boundaries. Love doesn't push past what you're ready for. Love doesn't make you feel guilty for needing space. Love creates room for you to breathe and still feel secure. And that's something many people miss. Lust feels like being chased. Love feels like being chosen. Lust pressures. Love supports. Lust is loud in the beginning, but love proves itself in silence, in patience, in consistency. If you want to know which one you're experiencing, stop looking at the fireworks and start watching the patterns. Fireworks fade quickly. Patterns reveal truth. Ask yourself, when the excitement dies down, do they still show up? When there's no physical intimacy, do they still care about connecting emotionally? When you're not giving them what they want, do they still value you for who you are? These are the questions that expose the difference. Because lust has no answer for them. Lust is self-serving. Love is self-giving. And here's the part most people never realize until it's too late. Lust doesn't just fade, it often leaves damage behind. It leaves you doubting your worth, questioning your instincts, fearing intimacy. Because when someone makes you feel desired but never makes you feel loved, it creates a wound. It convinces you that maybe you're not enough for lasting love, only good enough for temporary desire. But that's not true. It was never about your worth. It was about their capacity. And the wrong person's lack of capacity can never be proof of your lack of value. The healing comes when you stop letting lust define your story. When you stop looking at the people who couldn't love you and using that as evidence that love doesn't exist. Love exists. Real, lasting, steady love exists. But you'll only recognize it when you stop settling for the counterfeit. When you start trusting yourself enough to walk away from passion that isn't paired with commitment. When you stop giving your heart to anyone who lights a fire and start saving it for the one who builds a home. And maybe that feels scary, because it means saying no more often. It means walking away from people who make you feel alive in the moment, but aren't capable of giving you more. It means being patient, even when you feel lonely. But loneliness with peace is always better than companionship with confusion. Because confusion is what lust always leaves behind, while peace is what love always creates. And if you're serious about finding lasting love, you have to choose peace over passion, clarity over chaos, depth over intensity. It's not about denying desire. Desire has its place. Physical attraction is beautiful and powerful. And in a healthy relationship, it belongs. But it cannot be the only thing. Desire alone won't hold you when you're anxious. Desire alone won't stay faithful when temptation comes. Desire alone won't build a family or protect your heart. That's why you must want more than desire. You must want devotion. And here's where your perspective changes forever. Love isn't something you fall into. It's something you grow into. Lust makes you fall. Love helps you rise. Lust knocks you off your feet. Love helps you stand taller. Lust consumes your energy. Love restores it. The moment you see that, you realize love is not an accident. It's a choice, a practice, a daily commitment. And once you've seen love this way, you won't confuse it with lust again. So now you ask yourself, what kind of story do I want to write with my life? A series of highs and crashes, leaving me more broken each time, or a steady journey of growth, peace, and connection that actually lasts? Because the truth is, you have a choice. You can keep chasing lust and calling it love, or you can stop chasing, start discerning, and wait for the kind of love that doesn't just excite you but transforms you. And when that love comes, you'll feel the difference instantly. Not because it's louder, but because it's safe. Not because it overwhelms you, but because it steadies you. Not because it takes from you, but because it gives to you. And when you feel it, you'll know this is what I've been searching for all along. Now that you've walked through the differences, you feel something shifting inside you. The fog that once clouded your judgment begins to clear. And for the first time, you can see the patterns that used to trap you. The late-night texts that led nowhere. The whirlwind romances that burned bright and collapsed fast. The promises that felt convincing in passion, but never carried weight in practice. They all begin to look different now, don't they? Because you can finally name them for what they were. Lust, not love. And naming them is powerful, because when you name something, you take away its power to confuse you. Lust only thrives when it disguises itself as love. Once you see the mask for what it is, you don't get fooled so easily. You can look at someone who comes into your life with intensity and charm, and instead of rushing in head first, you pause, you breathe. You ask yourself, is this just attraction, or is there substance here? And that pause alone can save you years of wasted time. The beautiful thing is, once you stop being fooled by lust, you open the door to receive love. Love doesn't have to fight for your attention anymore, because you finally recognize its quiet strength. You begin to appreciate consistency more than fireworks. You start valuing effort more than empty words. You crave peace more than chaos. And when that shift happens, your entire life changes. Picture this. Instead of lying awake at night, Anxious about whether they'll call, you rest easy because you already know they'll show up. Instead of decoding mixed signals, you trust the clarity of their actions. Instead of feeling drained by the roller coaster of emotions, you feel nourished by their steady presence. That's what love gives you. It's not just passion, it's peace. It's not just chemistry, it's commitment. It's not just moments, it's meaning. And here's what makes love so different. Lust wants to own you. Love wants to free you. Lust wants to control. Love wants to empower. Lust feeds on insecurity, needing constant reassurance to survive. Love feeds on trust, growing stronger when both of you can stand as whole individuals, choosing each other freely, not out of fear, but out of desire to build something real. But to truly receive love, you must believe you deserve it. And that's where many people stumble. They cling to lust because deep down, they don't think they're worthy of love. They think if someone desires me, that's enough. If someone wants my body, maybe that means I'm valuable. But you're not valuable because someone desires you. You're valuable because of who you are, whether anyone sees it or not. And when you start living from that truth, you stop settling for people who only give you crumbs. You wait for the one who brings the whole feast. This is where your growth comes in. Because love requires maturity. Love requires patience. Love requires that you show up, not just with desire, but with discipline. Discipline to communicate even when it's uncomfortable. Discipline to stay even when it's hard. Discipline to choose kindness over pride. Lust doesn't demand that of you, which is why it's easy. But easy things rarely last. The things that matter, the things that build you, always require effort. And maybe that's the part you've resisted, because effort feels like work. You've been told that love should just happen, that it should be effortless if it's real. But that's another lie. Love isn't effortless, it's intentional. Lust is effortless because it doesn't last. Love is intentional because it's built to. And when you finally embrace that, you stop being afraid of the effort, because you realize it's not a burden, it's a privilege. The effort you give in love is what makes it grow. Think about it like this. Lust is like a sparkler, bright, dazzling, exciting, but gone in seconds. Love is like a fire you tend to daily. You add wood, you nurture the flame, you protect it from the wind. It doesn't explode with drama, but it keeps you warm night after night. And isn't that what you truly want? Warmth, safety, security, not just flashes of excitement that leave you cold when they fade. And maybe you've been burned before. Maybe you gave your all to someone who only gave you fragments. Maybe you believed words that weren't backed up by action. Maybe you poured love into someone who only offered lust. And because of that, maybe part of you feels afraid to try again. Afraid that every connection will end the same way. But here's the truth. You weren't wrong for loving. You weren't foolish for giving. You were just giving to someone who wasn't capable of receiving. That doesn't mean love doesn't exist. It means you were practicing for the one who will be ready. And when that person comes, you'll recognize them, because love feels different. Love doesn't leave you anxious, it gives you rest. Love doesn't make you question your worth, it affirms it. Love doesn't disappear when you're struggling, it leans in close. Love doesn't take advantage of your vulnerability, it treasures it. And when you finally experience that, you'll understand why lust was never enough. But let's make this practical, because understanding the difference in theory is one thing, living it is another. How do you protect yourself from lust, disguised as love? You create standards that lust cannot meet. You require consistency, not just chemistry. You require honesty, not just charm. You require patience, not just passion. You require someone who listens, not just someone who speaks beautifully. Lust will give up when faced with those standards, because it doesn't have the strength to meet them. Love will rise to them, because love always does. And while you're waiting for that, you focus on becoming the kind of person who's ready to give love in return. Because it's not just about finding someone who can love you, it's about preparing yourself to love someone else. To show up with patience, kindness, forgiveness, and commitment. To be the kind of partner who doesn't just demand love, but gives it. Because lasting love is never one-sided. It's built by two people who choose each other every day. Not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. And the beauty of that kind of love is that it grows. It doesn't stay stagnant. It matures with you. It evolves as life changes. It adjusts as seasons shift. Lust cannot do that. Because lust is frozen in time. It only exists in the now. Love is timeless, because it's willing to grow alongside you. That's why love is the only thing that truly lasts. So here's where it all comes together. Lust excites your body, but love nourishes your soul. Lust fades with time, but love grows stronger with it. Lust gives you fragments, but love gives you wholeness. And once you see this clearly, once you internalize it deeply, you'll never confuse the two again. You'll protect your heart, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You'll wait, not out of desperation, but out of confidence. And when you finally give your heart, it will be to someone who knows the difference too. And that's when you'll realize you never needed fireworks to prove love existed. You needed faithfulness. You never needed constant intensity. You needed steady presence. You never needed someone who burned for you in moments. You needed someone who built with you for life. That's the difference between lust and lasting love. And now, you know it in your bones.